Though you hide it, I see the wounds where you bleed. In time, I'll mend every piece. There's nowhere safer for you than me. Safe, don't you know that you're safe? I'll be more than a lover, keep you from danger, and no, we won't break. Oh, safe, here with me you are safe, and it's all on the line, but with you it's a risk I'm willing to take. Oh, safe, safe. Oh, I'll keep you safe. Here you are, safe. Here we are.
Wow. I love it, man. Love it. This is
Thank you.
acoustic version of your first hit single.
Exactly. Thanks.
How did you get inspired to write this song?
I feel like it's such a universal feeling that everybody wants to feel in any type of relationship, specifically romantically. But I feel like that that feeling that I had just kind of, yeah, like inspired that and wanting to feel that in a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great theme. Well, I'm excited to have you on, Leon. I yeah. Why don't you tell us more about yourself and how you got into music and your passion?
Sure. So my name is Leon. I go by Leon Zai as an artist, which are the first three letters of my last name. But I started singing since I was a little kid. My dad was a pastor, and my mom would make me sing in church all the time. And my mom was a singing teacher as well, although I refused to take lessons from her because I thought I knew everything when I was little. But um, that's really how I started singing. She would just sign me up for things, and really just fell in love with music. Music was always playing in my house. My brother is a musician. Um, and my mom plays a bunch of instruments, so was always around music. And then in middle school, I ended up going to a performing arts school, so was doing music and theater there, and yeah, the passion just kind of grew and grew
Hmm.
as I got older.
And where are you now?
I am based in Los Angeles, California,
Oh,
but originally from England. I grew up in England.
nice. Did you move here for music?
I did. I I came out here after my cousin got married in the Midwest. I came out here for a week just to visit, and I had just graduated high school, and I went back home to England, and I told my parents I wanted to move, and my mom, being the supportive parent that she was like, "Yeah, okay, let's make it happen," and she coordinated, and I moved out here at 18 by myself, pretty much just knowing my cousin because I wanted to do music. So
Wow, man, that's a big jump. How,
yeah.
how was that experience? Like moving to the States, moving to LA, and coming here for music, not really knowing anyone. How was that?
Um, I think I think I was a little bit delusional, and we kind of talked about this before we got on, but I really thought I was going to get here, and within 6 months, I was going to be signed and make it as a musician. But it was a really tough transition. I was used to being around my friends. I was used to just having a lot of support and being around a lot of people I loved. And when I moved here, I literally had nobody, um, and there was no blueprint for how to do this, and I really had no idea what I was doing. So
Mm,
um, I learned pretty quickly that yeah, things are not as they seem, and yeah, things take a lot of work to get to where you want to go. So
yeah, I think a lot of us are learning that in our late 20s. What? So when you said that things are not as they seem, what do you mean by that?
I think, especially when you're entering the industry, or when you are kind of learning more about the industry and kind of music in general as it pertains to the industry, I think there are a lot of things that you think are a certain way, or there are a lot of preconceived notions that you might have,
Mm-hmm.
um, that are not always true. And I would just say, like, for instance, what you see an artist do, a lot of successful artists do, you may think like, oh, all they have to do is like know their music and perform and be a great artist. There are a thousand other things that artists have to do, um, that people don't really see on the outside, and that goes for any position in music, whether you're a producer, songwriter. Um, there's so many hats you have to put on, that I think coming into music and maybe going from taking it to a hobby to wanting to do it professionally, there's just a very, very big jump in terms of the amount of things that come with it.
For you, what are some of those things that you had to learn? Like, what did you like? You thought it was like, okay, I'm just going to come here, I'm going to sing, that's all I have to do, and just be great at that. What did you have to learn in order to become successful since then?
Um, I would say there are so many things, but I think like number one is like your connections and your network and who you know and how you present yourself to people, and down to like first impressions, like all of those things matter, especially when you're in an industry like this. I don't think I realized that, especially at the time, like talent is only a very, I wouldn't say small percentage, but it is not the whole reason why someone does or doesn't make it. There's so many talented people in the city, and just generally out there, but obviously not everybody makes it.
Mm.
Um, I would just say that there are so many other things that factor into like what makes someone successful.
Do you think that having this pressure to network and kind of make the right connections causes you to have to like put on like a mask and like not be yourself and present yourself in a way that's not authentic?
I think there's definitely pressure to do that, um, but it's really down to the individual, right? And um, I have found that as I get older, and the more I am able to truly be myself without the fear of judgment of others, you will attract the people that you're supposed to be around, and you will attract the people that are right for you.
Mm.
I think if you're going around and putting on a facade, being fake, number one, I think people can see through that, often. And I think number two, you don't allow yourself then to represent yourself in a way that's going to attract like-minded people.
Mm. And yeah, maybe you could go into some of the things that has kept you going for so long. I mean, I think you said it's kind of been hard, it's or not what you expected, and um, what keeps you going through the times you want to give up?
Um, Great question. I would just say for me, it is the pure love for music. It's as simple as that. And I think even beyond being a creative and an artist, like I am a fan first of music, and just like I so enjoy finding new artists, going to shows, and just like listening to good music. I always have music on, whether I'm like working or whatever I'm doing. And I think that pure love for music is definitely what keeps me going, for sure.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
Some of my favorite artists, I would definitely say right now, love SZA. She, I think, is one of like the best writers of our generation. Frank Ocean, um, Janae Aiko, um, Victoria Monet. Yeah, those are kind of some of my favorites right now.
Mm. So yeah, this episode's on pros and cons of kind of being in the music industry, and I wanted to talk to you because you have experience and you've met so many people in the industry and you've been in it for years. I wanted to know, what has been exciting. Like why should people want to be in the music industry? Obviously, you kind of mentioned the love for music, and I think a lot of people like all over the world can relate to that, and are trying to make music, and it's a passion for so many people. What do you think is kind of a compelling reason for people to actually like make the jump like you did?
I will just preface this by saying I still am very early on in my career as a writer, as an artist. Although I've been around the industry, I would say, for a while. Um, I feel like you said a pro of jumping in and becoming an
Like
artist,
do
or
like trying to be a professional music, like do it professionally.
I think you get to do it. I think the joy is kind of in itself, and I know that kind of sounds
Mhm.
circular, but I think even as like a writer and as a creative, your true like your present for like working on the music is the complete music. Like that is a gift in and of itself. And I think the success that comes after that is just like a cherry on top. But like there are so many people in this life who don't get to chase their passion, who maybe do something else because they have to, or don't have the resources or the opportunity to pursue the things they love. And so I would just say, even the fact that you get to pursue your passion um, is a pro in and of itself.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, and I think another is that you get to share it. You get to impact people. You get to see people respond to your music. And I think that has to be at the forefront of like why you do what you do, or I personally think should be at the forefront of why you do what you
You're
should do.
saying it's got to be about sharing your art, not about being successful, not about making money, the fame and all that.
Yeah, and I mean it's hard to it's kind of hard to say that, because ultimately, like, if you're going to do it professionally, you have to make money to survive. But I think before that has to come the love for the music,
Mhm.
and the love for the art, and doing it for the right reasons. Yeah.
You mentioned like not everybody kind of has the privilege or gets to do what their passion for a living and really try. I'm sure you've met a lot of people who they're in it because they love music, they're passionate, they believe in themselves. How do um, like what are some of the ways that people do get by, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who want to do it, but they don't know how they're going to make the ends meet. Have you seen people like, do you have like creative ideas on how people really did it or the best strategies you've seen?
For people to make it as an artist, or to survive
Not to make it, to like give themselves runway, to give themselves the opportunity to like pursue music even though it's hard.
I would just say in LA, like, everybody is a what's the word? There's like a saying, but it's like everyone here does multiple things. Like,
Mhm.
even some of the biggest creatives, like, people have to, because it's expensive out here. And whether it's like someone is doing like Uber and then also has a full-time job and then also does music, or like is a photographer slash videographer slash like makeup artist. Like, people are always doing multiple things. And even with the most successful people, you'll see they'll use their platform, or they'll use music as kind of a gateway to other things. Because especially in this day and age, I would say that music, unless you are at a very high level, um, does not pay very well.
Mm,
Just in terms of like streaming and all that stuff. So
I see. And has that gotten worse over the years, or what do you think? How's the landscape changed?
I mean, from we've transitioned from physical copies and sales, to where people were buying CDs and vinyls and whatever, and people were making so much money off of music, to now, you know, people streaming, you're listening to a song, the artist and songwriter, and everybody's getting sorry, is getting paid like 0.001 cent per stream. So it's like,
Yeah,
split that 0.001 stream three ways on the three writers that wrote on the song. It's
yeah.
not.
So you're saying that if you had to bet on it, like a small to medium sized artist, it's actually getting harder to make it nowadays,
Yeah,
and
definitely. I
because of
think
Spotify and all these streaming services and everything going digital.
Yeah, and that too is like the streaming. With streaming, like there are rates that are negotiated every 4 years for like songwriters and how much they get paid
Mm.
on songs, and most of the time um, the different streaming platforms are um, like what's the word are trying to keep that rate down instead of being like open and willing to pay creatives more. Um, I will say at the same time though, artists also find other ways to make money, which is like touring, doing music for, maybe movies or TV shows, other avenues,
Mm.
um, which gives people, a maybe like non-traditional way to be successful. Whereas people might just think of success as being like a pop star, whatever.
I see. What are some of those ways that you've seen people or you've experienced to like make money in music?
Yeah. I mean, one way instead, a lot of people instead of being an artist end up, going into like production or being a songwriter. So you may not be the artist at the front, but if you're writing for a bunch of artists, at some point that does eventually start to add up, and you can start to make money. Um, Especially as a producer, um, you know, you are charging people money usually up front for your production. So people are making money that way. I think people may, um, like I said before, steer away from specifically working with like pop artists, and may go into like scoring movies or like making tracks specifically for a TV show or for ads. That's something that I actually have been doing in the past years, working with a sync company, making music specifically for ads. So that's something I've been doing on the side. Yeah.
What are all the things that a producer does, and how do you know like who's a good producer that you should work with?
I okay. So what are all the things a producer does nowadays? Everyone calls themselves a producer. Everyone who calls themselves a producer is not a producer. There's a lot of beat makers out there, which is fine.
Mm.
But the term producer originally would really refer to someone like, um, I don't want to say his name actually, but would refer to someone who takes the song from beginning to finish and has the vision. So it's like they might not even touch the track. They might have someone else playing all the instruments and doing all the buttons and having an artist work on it, but they are the one who is really steering the ship and
Mhm.
taking the song from 0 to 100. Um, so that to me is what a producer is. How do you know whether you should work with a producer? I mean, I think the art and the work speaks for itself. I think just listen to what they've already done. Um, and sometimes it's not even a question of are they good? It's a question of is it a good fit for your artistry? There's a lot of producers who may be really good at one genre, but maybe your sound is a little bit different, or maybe your working styles are a little bit different. So there's a lot of different things to think about when working with a
Hmm.
producer.
What do you think is like important in selling your yourself or selling your art to someone?
That is a that's a great question. What is really important when selling yourself or your music to someone? um, for me, I think authenticity is super important, because ultimately now I feel like, yes, people buy your music, but your music is just an extension of you. You are really the brand, and you are what people are buying. And you
Mm.
see that in some of the biggest artists where they have a very clear brand. You look at like a Rihanna or like a Beyonce, like there are certain words that just like come to mind when you see these people
Mm.
because they have a really strong brand. And so for someone like Rihanna, music is just one avenue. Now she's doing Fenty products and this and that, but all of those different things that she is creating and the businesses that she is starting are in line with the brand of who she is. And
Mm.
so I think the more authentic you are, then you are able to do things that align with your brand and are more clear and visible for people to see. Because if you are kind of just trying a bunch of different things and not really thinking about who you are as a brand and not having a clear kind of, I guess, defined sense of who you are and as a brand as well, people are going to be confused. Do you know what I mean? You're doing a bunch of different things. Maybe your music is a little all over the place, and it's hard for people to, unfortunately, um, people want things to be clear and defined. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The consistency
Yeah.
and simplicity, and like we want to know like very quickly, like who is this person? What do they represent? And
Yes.
like, does that align with me? I think. Do you have an idea what your brand is?
Yeah, I think so. I think that for me has been the hardest part. I think the music comes a lot easier than me thinking about myself as a brand and a thing that is to be sold.
Hmm.
That's definitely something I've been working on over the past year, especially with some of my mentors. Um, but I think that a lot of who I am as a person and my art is to do with healing, is to do with making people feel seen, and is to do with like impacting people in a positive way. Um, and so I think you can hear that in my music, and I think a lot of the music that's to come is still like in that same vein. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. We need more of that.
definitely.
So yeah. You mentioned, so I think to recap, you mentioned, you know, you get to work on what you're passionate about. You love music, so you get to be immersed in it. Um, you get to share yourself and your like who you are and your message with the world, and you get to, I guess we didn't talk about this one, you get to meet a lot of people who are like really interesting and cool, right? So can you tell me more about um like what it's like to be or like surrounded and meeting all these people in the music industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely a pro, and I think number one, you get to meet like-minded people. So, and that's kind of what I was talking about being authentic earlier. I think that is such a pro in terms of getting to meet other artists, songwriters, producers who may be really aligned to like the things that you are. So, meeting another artist whose music is all about healing and making people feel seen, like being able to connect on that level is really cool. And I think you also get to work with a lot of people closely in a way that really allows you to be vulnerable, and I think opens up the gateway to be friends a lot easier than maybe some other, I guess, like industries or ways of working with other people. For instance, um, as a songwriter, a lot of people do songwriting sessions with different people every day, or a lot of different people. And so every day you're meeting different people who also write. But when you go into a writing session, most of the time you don't just go in there and you're like, okay, we're going to write this song. It's usually you guys talking for like the first hour or two. And especially if you're working with an artist, um, it may just be them talking about like what they're going through and what's going on in their life, and them confiding in you and or telling you what they want to write about because someone just broke up with them. And so I think in that way there is when it comes to being creative, it opens the doors for you to really be vulnerable and share and kind of like make friends really quickly. um, and then I think also there is camaraderie, in terms of a lot of my friends who are artists. We're all kind of trying to do the same thing, which is get our music out there and be successful artists. And I think um, that also builds a lot of camaraderie. I don't think I answered your question.
You did. No, you did. I mean, I asked about just like what it's like to meet people
Yeah.
and in the music industry, and I think you said some things that were really insightful. I mean, I like for instance, this whole idea like where you're coming in to either record a song or write a song or do a writing session, and like you're connecting with these people like so quickly because you guys are both into music and art, and people are sharing about their like personal struggles, and that um a lot of the industry is like really connecting with people on that deeper level because there's so much emotion and passion involved in the work. I think that's like, yeah, something that like is insightful, because a lot of people for their careers, we go to an office, and like you sit at a desk, you sit in front of a computer screen, and yeah, you do talk to your coworkers and people in your company about life, but it's generally more about like, oh, like I took my kids to the park this weekend, and like here's my dog, not, man, I went through this breakup, and here's the words that are coming out of
Yes.
this like grief. I think that that's a very different environment.
Yeah, definitely. I think too, you get to be a student, and I think that's really cool because you are constantly surrounded by so many creative people who approach and perceive and consume music differently than you, and people have different skill sets, and you can go into um, a songwriting session and learn so much from the engineer, or you could learn something from the artist, or someone's manager could be in there and they give you some game about the business. Like, it's always a learning opportunity, which I think is really cool, as well.
Mhm.
And I think being in the industry, are able to, if you're able to do this, it's really cool, which is find mentors, which is something that I've been blessed and lucky enough to do. And I think that has been a really cool part of doing this, which is just learning from people who have already done it and know what they're talking about and want to see you win. So
If there's some young artist who wants mentorship, would you be open to mentoring someone?
um, yeah, I think so. I mean, I would be happy to lend support in what capacity I can. I think that there are a lot of people out there who are more seasoned than I am and have um, probably more wisdom to impart. But yeah, definitely.
Cool. I mean, you guys heard it. If you're looking to get into the industry, um, yeah. So, yeah, like that. I think we went over a lot of pros. Maybe we could start talking about some of the cons. Like, what have been the struggles, and especially the unforeseen things that you've had to endure that people might not know getting in.
I think cons are, we talked a little bit about this, but number one, there's no clear path. There is no clear path to success. If you want to be a dentist or a doctor,
Mhm.
you know what you have to do, what you have to study, the steps that you have to take. You input the hours, and not saying that it's easy, but if you are able to do all the above, you eventually become a doctor.
Mm.
Um, I think the very amazing, but also scary thing about music is, and being just in the arts in general, is that there are no promises. You can put in hours and hours of work, and you can put out your best song that you worked on for the past 2.5 years that you think is gonna blow you up, and you're gonna be the next, you know, uh, whatever. And you can put it out and get 10 streams on the
Yeah.
first day, and that can be very, it can be very difficult for people to swallow. I think it can be very discouraging. But that being said, you also never know what can happen. You can put out a song and all of a sudden it starts blowing up on whatever, on TikTok, or
Yeah.
someone plays it on their show or whatever, it gets picked up, and all of a sudden, like, you're getting a lot of attention. So I think that is like the balance. But yeah, I think also for a lot of people going into the industry, like we were just talking about, a con is that they don't have mentors, and they don't have people who can guide them, who know what you should and shouldn't do. And I was lucky enough to go to a music school in LA called the 1500 Sound Academy, and I did a 6-month program there, and we learned everything from like the music business to etiquette on when you're in a songwriting session, things you do, things you don't do, um, how to approach someone who's famous or is really successful. Like, there's so many things that I learned at the academy, that I think coming into the music business, people just wouldn't know and could make simple mistakes. And so yeah, I think it can feel like a very lonely road a lot of the time, but um you know, yeah. So I don't
No,
know.
that makes sense. Like you're kind of just like such as yourself. You know, people move from whatever state, whatever country, they're coming to LA, and they have high hopes, and they're kind of independent, and that they're trying to learn on their own through the internet, through friends. But I think you're giving a really cool insight, which is that um, you should find a mentor, find people that know better, or like have been gone before you in a sense. But at the same time, know that no matter how much support you get, it's gonna be a lonely road because really like you're the only one who's gonna be able to, um, make your brand and your music like popular. Like it's like that's kind of on you, right? So
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And um I think another thing along the lines of, and I'm saying like, just go get a mentor. Like, I think part of that also is, especially if you are going to be providing a service, if you, as like a songwriter or a producer or an engineer, I think going into these situations when you're meeting people and, meeting people who've gone before you, find a way to be of service, find a way to add value to the room, because that is what is going to make people interested in helping you and wanting to mentor you. If you just go in there being like, can you help me with this and can you help me with that? It's like people don't necessarily have the time of day to do that. But I think if you go in um, looking for a way to help or to intern or to provide value to a room, that is what is going to get people interested in working and helping you.
I just saw this video of Maggie Rogers in like.
Hmm.
Have you seen that video? She's like in class and she's like,
Well,
"Huh? Yes, yes." And I waited and like I was walking by the Chase Center and there was this long line outside the Chase Center and I was like, "What are you guys waiting for?" They're like Maggie Rogers tickets. So I was like, I just like got in line. I was like, okay, I'll probably be in line for like an hour. Like it didn't seem that long. I waited in line for 4 hours. Isn't that
wow.
crazy? And yeah, I still had to pay for the tickets too. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So, but then I went online and watched this video, and I was like, oh wow, she's like saw how she like started blowing up because
Yeah.
Alaska, and like I was like, oh damn, this like she just wrote that like super quick, and she got the opportunity, and it happened for her. So it's like, yeah, you like you said, it's like there's no clear path. Like you just like never know. She could have been never known if like
Yeah.
that didn't happen, and she like went viral. So
Great example of and what a lot of my mentors have told me, which is like where preparation meets opportunity, right?
mm,
Like she could have not had the song ready. She could have just been like whatever and showed up to class that day with, whatever. But um,
yeah.
she was prepared, and I think that is another part of. And when I was earlier talking about people doing it for the right reasons, I think it is important to practice your craft until you are undeniably good,
Mm,
because then when the opportunity comes, you are going to be able to. An opportunity will come. I mean, if you're in LA and you're around enough people, opportunity will come. But I think people are often focused on like looking good and kind of what we talked about, money, fame, whatever, blah blah blah. But it's like focus on your craft, become undeniably good, make the music really good, and when the opportunity comes, could be the next Maggie Rogers.
do you think there's a minimum level of talent that you need?
In this day and age, not really. I mean, yes and no. I think it depends on what you're striving for. If you want to be a successful artist with longevity who's going to be doing touring and putting out records for the rest of your life, yes. Um,
Mhm.
but I also think that there are people who may be not that talented who have also made it, and I would just say more power to them. If you found a way to make it with not a lot of talent, like more power to you.
Have you seen that that like hard work, grinding really pays off, or do you think like it's more about relaxing and just being creative and just going with the flow? Like, have you seen a direct correlation between people who are like really like, I'm gonna do like 12 hours a day and just go straight, go, and like, does that really help a lot?
Um, I definitely think that there's correlation between the work you put in and the quality of what you are going to put out. 100%. Um, if I wrote a song once every 2 3 months when I randomly feel inspired, the level of or the amount of exercise I get at writing
Mm,
is not a lot. If I sit here and write a song a day or every 2 3 days, number one, my catalog gets built as a writer, which is great. But number two, I'm getting a lot more practice. So people in the industry talk a lot about like the 1,000 hours, where it's like it takes, or maybe it's 10,000 hours, 10,000 hours of practice of something to get good at it. 100% agree.
cool. Um, what's something that you would tell someone who's kind of an aspiring artist, like they're just getting in? What's one piece of advice you'd give them?
For someone just coming into the industry, the advice I would give them, and this is gonna sound really corny, like be yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself in your music and how you present yourself. Um, that is everybody's superpower, because when you're writing a song and you are authentically you, there's no one else who could write that song the way that you would. Um, and I think number two is like, don't give up, which sounds, you know, but I think those are two things that like you have to come face to face with if you're going to do this for the long haul.
Cool, man. Thanks so much, Leon, for your time. Where can people find you?
You can find me on all socials at I am Leon Zai,
I
Leon.
am I am Leon Zai. Cool. All right. Thanks, Leon. This was awesome. Really good luck with all of your projects. And yeah, if you guys wanted to check out that song, it's called Safe Unplugged. That's on Spotify.
Yes. Thank you. It was great chatting with you, Daniel.